With us right now, as promised, is UTEP's Director of Athletics, Bob Stull. And first off, Bob, you joined us earlier in the week, I think on Monday, and we talked a little bit about the NIT, the situation with the minors, and obviously last night the game itself was tough enough for UTEP, and then plenty of other off the court instances with what happened last night on social media.
Well, just one in particular, with
but it's
Jeff.
a biggie, Bob. It's a biggie.
Yeah. Well, not a series on the one. Yeah, with one. We're talking about one. Yeah, and it was. I really like what Fred had to say earlier. I mean, if anybody knows Jeff Darby, Jeff has been there 15 years. He's an excellent in as far as sports information. ESPN loves him. Hey, but you guys have worked with me. Whatever you need, he gets to you. He's very professional. He runs the whole website update and stuff. So he's very professional. He's known for that. But why he tweeted it, why he decided to do that last night, I don't know. It was not a good decision by him. He realizes that. I mean, he's basically going to pay the price for it. He said, I don't know. It was so unlike what I usually do, and I don't know why I did it. And as soon as it's done, it's not good. And like I said, it's very unfortunate because obviously this day and age, anything that you say or do, just like Fred was talking about, is different. In the past, you make a mistake and not a big deal. Now, anything that you do is on the media forever. So it was really poor decision on his part. It was unprofessional, and he shouldn't have done that. And certainly, he's paying the price for it. Just as far as just the exposure of what happened.
Well, now I'll say this, okay? In my mind, that tweet shouldn't be posted to a personal account or a university account related to him, because regardless of the situation, Bob, and I had no idea that Jeff even had a personal Twitter account until later today, when we found out, I guess it's a suspended account, that if you're representing the university and you're representing the basketball program, it's one of those things you just don't put out there. It doesn't serve any purpose.
No, exactly. And the amazing thing is, Jeff usually trains his student athletes about what they should and shouldn't do as far as interviews and media, et cetera. And so for him to make this kind of mistake is really ridiculous, quite frankly, for him to do that. And but if you know Jeff, he's been here for 15 years and is a huge fan. He's really tied to UTEP, and he works his butt off. He's good at what he does, but this is really, really a poor decision, and he's paying for it. He certainly is.
UTEP Athletic Director Bob Stull with us on our Village Inn hotline as we continue. Jeff's been with men's basketball for a long, long time. I know that's really his first love. At the same time, after what's happened last night, do you expect him to remain with men's basketball and Tim Floyd?
I don't know. I mean, what has to happen one way or another? If can that relationship be repaired? That's the key, because it's kind of a trust issue between him and the coaches and the players, and that trust has been violated. So, we just have to see as far as that's concerned.
I understand that. And not only that, you look at the trust, you look at everything that's going down. It made national news very quickly, Bob. A website called Mid-Major Madness picked up on it through SB Nation. They had it first nationally, so everybody caught that. And you think about it, it's not good for recruiting. It's just not good for the program. And one of those things where there's no doubt that he's going to feel bad about this, about the actions from last night. But ultimately, UTEP, 5 years straight, does not go to the NCAA. They lose yesterday in the NIT. They're already losing 3 seniors. We don't know about Lou Stallworth. He could be 4. We now don't know about Vince Hunter's future. So it's hard enough to recruit to UTEP as is. The fact is, you don't need to really put more stress and give more teams ammo to recruit against you with something like that.
That's true. I think they already have 3 commitments or so. the thing that people need to realize, I think the whole criteria now is nothing more than going to the NC2A. But when Tim came in, with Tony had brought in some junior college and transfer guys, and so when he came in, there were 9 guys that left, and all the visits were done, and all the signings are always in the fall, not in the spring. So when he came in, they really had very poor opportunity to recruit. So that first year was lost. And what he's tried to do, we had a couple things. We were on the verge of an APR, problem because of the people that were, coming and going and in the previous classes. And if you don't get the right APR score, then what happens is, you're not even eligible to go to the tournament, just like happened in UConn a year ago. So what Tim has done that's really good is what he tried to do is try to get a player in each class, like a tall guy, like a big guy. So you start with Will Hannon, then you had Cedric, then you have Hooper, then you have Wilms. So you got a guy in each one of his class at that size, and the same thing for forwards, and then same thing for guards, and so that you wouldn't just have a big rush class that comes in and maybe goes to a tournament per game, and then next year that you're starting all over again. He's tried to do that. Now, what messed us up a little bit is last year when we lost those 3 guards because, the number 1 guard was our number 1 scorer at the time. And so that put us back there. But, the thing he's done, those kids are great kids. We now have 1,000% on the APR stuff and completely out of APR, problems there. And we won, over 20 games for the last 3 years. Again, if we were in a different conference with the 24 wins, you might still get in the NC2A, and that's not happening because of the situation with the conference. So it's a compound on that. But again, what he's trying to do is build it with good kids and with kids in each one of the classes, and try to really get our APR stuff squared away. So he's really done some nice things. But the ultimate thing people want to see is you go to the NCAA tournament, whether you go for one game or whatever. I really believe if and when Tim gets to the tournament, we'll do more than one game. I really believe that's true. I mean, his history, all the other colleges he's been, he's always went, beyond almost to the Sweet 16. So once he gets those people in place, and the right thing, I think he will. But again, right now there's frustration because, the expectations are higher, which is good here. I mean, people, want great basketball. Now, if you're a fan and went to our games, we had 18 games here. We only lost 2. One was to Arizona, by 4 points, number 1 seed in the NC2A. And then the teams that we had the hardest time with was in the guard situation. When we played Louisiana Tech twice, those two games we had a very difficult time on the matchup. And then last night they had a tremendous guard. They had some really athletic, quick guys. And that's where right now, when we lost those guards in the past, our matchups have been the toughest when we have guards like that we play against. We'd have been much better off playing something like Stanford, for instance, in that game. But so anyway, I think everybody that knows Tim still believes in Tim, and if everybody's frustrated, he's more than anybody else because he wants to get there. He's never been in a place where he hasn't got there in the first couple of years. So. But we're working. We want good kids. We want kids who can graduate. We want good kids who are not getting in trouble. And that's what we're trying to do.
Bob, as somebody who runs the athletic department, and really you're responsible for bringing Tim here 5 years ago, which was a huge coup to you and the staff. And I remember being at that first introductory press conference, and it was like El Paso's son came home, the reaction that people had. It's been 5 years, and a lot of people still believe in Tim, believe he's the man for the job and can make it happen. As director of athletics, how long do you give before you say to yourself, well, it's 5 years now, then it could be 7 years or 8 years? How long before you say, it's just we can't keep waiting for a chance to go to the NCAA tournament?
Well, again, I don't think the NCAA tournament is the only criteria you're looking at. Does that mean if you go to one game and lose that's the criteria you're looking for? I think what you're trying to do is build a program where ultimately, if you do get the tournament, you do a little bit more than that. Mm-hmm. And again, you've got other issues. You got great kids. Now, if we were winning 14 games or 13 games, that's different. But if you're winning 23, 24 a game, 20 used to be the normal great season, period. And so when you're winning, if you're a fan and you've gone to our games, and and you're only losing 2 games out of 18, and one of them's the number 2 ranked team in the country, you don't have a bad basketball team. Again, it's just the fact that if the only criteria you're looking for is go to the NCAA tournament, if that's the only criteria, well, then that's really not very realistic, because I think there's so many other things to the program, and I think ultimately he'll be there. I really believe in him.
Especially
and I think anybody that's a true season ticket holder and fan, most of them really believe in Tim.
Yeah,
You're going to have people that don't, but that's normal.
So you don't. So I guess here's the question. All right, do you think that the average UTEP season ticket holder and basketball fan you talk to, do you think that they gauge success with the NCAA tournament? Do you think they gauge it with numbers of wins? I mean, really, if you had to peg it, because I would say just from this show and talking to most of my listeners around town, many of them that are season ticket holders, they do gauge it on NCAA tournament trips.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, everybody has different opinions. I couldn't answer that. I know a lot of people absolutely love him and think he's the best ever. I think other people. I think even Tim wants to go to the tournament. Nobody does not want to go to the tournament, so that's not an issue. But you look again, like New Mexico State, for instance, they're going to the tournament 4 years. Well, why? Because the league they're in right now, there's only one team that even had more than 14 wins in the league, and that the second place team had 17. So it's a different ball game than when you got somebody like Old Dominion that beat BCU and LSU, and those guys. It's a different ball game. If the tournament is the only thing you're trying to get to, your conference stuff has a lot to do with that too, and the toughness and who you're playing and those things. There's a lot more to it. But again, I think we all want to do the same thing. We want to have a great season. We want to play for the championship. And the last couple of years, we've been in position. We ended up second. We're close to that, and we all want to go to the tournament. There's no doubt about it. Well, but that's not the only criteria we have.
What hurts more than anything is that Conference USA has become really a one-bid league most years, and that means there's 13 schools that are not going to be going to the NCAA, and one school that is. And this year, hey, Birmingham took advantage of home court, something we hoped UTEP would be able to do in the 2 years they've hosted the conference tournament. It hasn't worked out like that. So, I think the frustrating thing is just not being able to get the Miners over the hump, which is something it's really been a frustrating thing for everybody.
Sure it is, but I think if you build a program based on good kids, and every year that you're competing for the championship, you're one of the top 2 or 3. Sooner or later, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. If you're down at the bottom, the middle, or the bottom, and struggling, that's one thing. If you're at the verge of winning the championship each year with that type of a team, and play somebody like Arizona within 4 points, whatever, then you got a chance. Now, in our league this year, Old Dominion, had they gotten to the final game, they would have probably went to the NCAA, because they had beaten BCU, that's in the top 25. They beat LSU. They had 2 or 3 other big wins. They only had one loss before they got in the conference. And the conference is tough. They lost 5 in the conference. I think if teams in our league, including ourselves, if we'd have beaten Arizona and Colorado State, for instance, and not had the 2 bad losses we had, we'd probably in the tournament. But what we have to do in the conference is to do a better job in our non-conference. Now, the thing that Tim has done different than Billy Gillespie and Doc and Tony is he has played really difficult teams. So could he have 27 wins? Certainly. If he'd be playing the same people that Billy Gillespie played, we'd have 27, 28 games. But he's playing team Colorado State, Washington, Arizona, New Mexico State. These are not, your typical games that people play preseason. He is trying to do it by, again, what he's trying to do is play some non-conference teams that have a high enough RPI that if he does win 25 and he beats an Arizona or something, he would go to the tournament. So that's really a different thing, too. The 22, 23 wins, he could easily have 27 just by scheduling alone. But what he's tried to do is bring quality teams into El Paso. He's brought in, Colorado State, brought in Arizona, Washington State. I mean, he tries to get really good. He'll play anybody. He'll play anybody home and away. And that's what he's trying to do for the fans, too, is bring people here, not just, Prairie View A&M or something. He's trying to bring in really good teams that we can watch and play and give us a chance to be a higher profile, which he's used to doing. So that's another thing that people don't realize. The 22, 20, he could easily have 26 wins, 27, just a matter of scheduling. And that's what Billy always did, and that's what Doc did, and those guys, they always played their first 10 games. They might have one that's a challenge in there before they got to conference, but that's not what Tim has tried to do.
Darren Hunt earlier today caught up with Vince Hunter as the team was coming off the bus back to the dorms following the trip to Kentucky. Asked him point blank if he's coming back next year, and he had a no comment. Didn't want to comment on anything today, so he just wanted to get back and not do and just get off the the long travel trip it's been happening. At the same time, Fred alluded to the fact that Tim Floyd told him that right now Vince is unsure about his future, was hurt by the tweets last night. Listen, Bob, you're as close to the situation more than anybody else that's out. That's part of the program. Personally, I don't see how Vince comes back. I think his decision was made before last night's tweets. I don't know. I just don't have a good read on it.
I completely agree with you. I don't think that he might get his feelings hurt last night, which I think he probably would. But I think he made his decision before that. I think it's just like you say. I think was that have anything to do with it? I think he's making a decision based on what he wants to do professionally, whether he wants to come back, if he thinks he's ready or he's not. And I think he probably made that before he went on the trip. I'm sure he probably did. I'm guessing like you are. I think he probably knew. I don't think. I'm sure he was not happy about those tweets and his feelings hurt. But I don't think. I think professionally he'll make the decision he thinks best for him professionally, whether it's to come back and play or to go and try and get in the NBA draft. I think like you said, I think he made that decision before, but we'll see.
So you don't really think there's any chance that Vince transfers to another program? You think it's pretty much either go pro or stay here at UTEP?
Well, I don't think. This is just my thinking. I mean, if I'm a guy that thinks he got a chance for a pro, I don't want to go someplace else to sit out a year.
I would agree. I mean, Arnett Moultrie did it, and it turned into a first-round pick for him. But at the same time, I mean, why miss a year of development? And a lot of us, after watching Vince this year, listen, I like him as a talent. I think he's the best player on the team, especially coming back next year. But he has work to do, and if he doesn't see that after this sophomore year, it's a little surprising. And it's unfortunate, but ultimately life goes on. UTEP will have to move on in his absence, and it's just another very big hole to fill for next season.
Yeah, I don't think if his decision, I don't think would be to transfer to another school because I think he's a guy that wants to play in the NBA, and sitting down a year is not going to help him. He needs to play, and Tim's still the best guy to get him there because he was in the league for so long. But will his feelings be hurt? Sure it will, but I think he'll make a decision. That's what I think. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think he'll make a decision based on what he thinks he wants to do professionally, whether he thinks he's ready or, who's ever advising him thinks he's ready. Or if he thinks he needs to come back and get better. I mean, one of those two things. I think there was a different thing with Moultrie when Tim came in. He had left school for like 3 weeks and was trying to work out for the NBA draft. And Tim said, "You better come back, or he's not coming on the team because he's going to end up flunking out." And they got into it on that part of it. I think that's one reason Moultrie, was left because Tim wanted him back and going. So it's a little bit different issue than right now. But again, I understand why he would be hurt. I understand, but on the same time, I think he'll make the decision professionally based on what he thinks is best for his future.
All right.
Just like you said.
Bob,
I think he's already made a decision.
Good stuff. I appreciate the